Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Phatkat Collections. Today we're going to be looking at a watch by Aura, and this is their Ruby Rose Skeleton 2. Check this out. Absolutely excited to get this into my collection. These are the watches that really, I don't know, just spark a lot of excitement. As you get more and more watches in your collection, I think I'm teetering around 500 now, give or take. You know, it gets harder and harder to find watches that haven't kind of already been done. There's so many great affordable watches out there. So no matter what your price point, there's always something for everyone. But as you get more and more different colors, different sizes, shapes, it does become harder to find things that are just kind of unique and different. And this one definitely hits the check boxes for me. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, you guys know I'm a pretty big fan of flashy jewelry and, you know, kind of flashy watches and stuff. But in all honesty, there's times where I wear, like, for instance, this still a pretty flashy list, beautiful Oceaniva. And there's times where I wear a dress watch and times where I wear a huge Invictus. So it really just comes down to my mood. And one thing that I think is very difficult to find out there, and I've said it before in videos, is finding a nice quality watch that has the addition of gemstones, in this case crystals, but to give you that iced out look. Now this is more subtle, we just have the bezel on this, but it is just a stunning piece. That rose gold and simulated rubies, this is just a wonderful piece. Now this is not really, I'd say, a homage to anything. It's kind of taken, I'd say, inspiration, although this wasn't really their game plan here, but this is just my interpretation. It kind of is a cross between a Royal Oak and a Nautilus. So very similar design aspects, and when I say that, I just mean the case has a very Nautilus-like case shape, which remember, just because a watch has a shape, remember, there's only so many, there's only so many options when you're creating a watch, right? You know, I mean, I haven't seen anybody do a triangular watch, but I'm sure somebody has out there. And if your only goal is to be different, then you go with a brand like Invicta, where they really do things that are really over the top and really kind of reinventing what we think of as a watch design. But when you're looking for something a little more conservative, and I say that lightly because this is not a conservative watch, it definitely has a lot of pizzazz and a lot of flash. It's definitely harder. If you just make a round watch, everybody's going to say, oh, it's a Submariner homage, right? And so what I like about this is that they basically kind of took design aspects from the Royal Oak and the bracelet, how it tapers down, and just that kind of what I'll call like a single link bracelet, and then a similar shape to the Nautilus, but they've added, you know, a very unique bezel and kind of like these additional, I'd say, blank spots, just to change it up. It changes the look of the watch, where a Nautilus, I'd say, is a little more round, and they've put sort of a, you know, a more of a chiseled edged bezel on this, where the Nautilus is kind of a smooth, kind of round curve. I really like that they did that. This watch is really its own thing, and I can't think of many other watches. You might know. If you do, you know, leave a comment in the comment section, but this is one of those watches that if you're wearing this and somebody's familiar with watches, they're instantly going to know that this is an Aura watch, right? And so that's kind of a hard feat nowadays, right? If you're wearing, as much as I love Oceaniva as a brand, right? If I get back far enough, you don't know if I have a Rolex on, you don't know if I have a Pagani design, but with something like this, it's pretty obvious. You know, this is the only company making something like this. Now, I don't say that to dissuade anybody from getting what you ultimately like. I enjoy this Oceaniva just as much as I enjoyed wearing this Aura watch, but they're two different things. The Aura watch is more of a dress style. I wouldn't call it a tool watch. It's more of just a you know, basic watch. It's not really meant for you to go diving with, although there is an element of water resistance on this, and we'll talk about the specifications and talk about, you know, the check boxes that I look for when I'm determining what kind of quality that a watch has. I won't even use that those set of check boxes what I'm looking for when buying a watch anymore, because there's so many. My check boxes have pretty much been fulfilled across so many different brands that, you know, it ultimately just comes down to, do I like the watch now when I'm going to spend my own money on it. But again, this was comped by Aura. I really hope that Aura goes ahead and collaborates with me more on their brands in their different models, because they have a lot of really nice watches that I'd say are conservative size, but are just kind of different, you know? So let me put the watch down for a second. We are going to come back and I'll show you the wrist shots and all that stuff. But first off, when you get this watch, you're going to get a cardboard box. This is pretty standard, plain old white, it says Aura on it, right? Open it up. You got to get a kind of a tuxedo black interior. You know, when we do these reviews, I I want you to understand this is just a cardboard box, right? I'm not wowed by any of this, right? But I do think it is kind of nice. I'm not trying to always like say, wow, look at this amazing. I don't want to lie to you guys and just like paint this picture that, like when I open an Invicta watch box, right? There's zero excitement anymore because I've opened so many of them. It's a yellow box, you know what to expect. If you have enough Aura watches, that's the way you're going to feel about this box. But I do like that they, you know, I do like the high contrast color. Remember, this is just a piece of cardboard, but when you open it up, at least that first initial, you know, if you're buying a watch or gifting this, the presentation is kind of fun. Especially if you're, you know, you don't own a lot of watches and you're still fresh to unboxing things, right? I like it, right? I like that the white instantly jumps to black. I'm not going to open this up. It's just a cardboard box which holds the actual case. On the inside, you are going to have a toolkit which allows you to remove the friction pins. And one thing I will state that I'm a little disappointed with Aura on, this is a very small gripe, very small, but your extra links are not on the watch, they are just floating around. Now, full disclosure, this is a comp watch, so it's not impossible that they might, you know, maybe this watch did go somewhere else before it came to me. I'm not really sure. I can't see any signs that the watch was used or anyway. The only thing is it is sized for a 7-inch wrist, and normally watches come with the links still in the watch, right? Normally you have to size it, hence they're giving you the sizing tool. But you never know. They might say, hey, a 7-inch wrist is the average, which would be very thoughtful, I think, of the company. If they, and I'm just speculating here, if they did turn around and say, hey, we're going to make every watch from the factory 7-inch because it's going to fit most people, and then if you need to upsize it, you can, or downsize it, you can as well. But I would like to see a little, you know, 2-cent Ziploc baggie to keep this in there. I think it's just a little bit sloppy to have these flapping around in there, but I venture to guess that, you know, when they send out watches to influencers and, you know, watch reviewers like myself, this watch might have went somewhere else, or it might have been a return. Maybe somebody bought it and just didn't like the way it fit. Who knows? But I didn't like that, but not a big deal. I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to harp on this too much because everything else is so awesome about this watch. And it really is, you know, if I bought the watch my own money, that really wouldn't really get me bent out of shape. It's just a little bit of a little critique for the company. That's all. Wonderful case. Absolutely love this. They do give you a travel case. This makes way more common sense than giving you a dive box, which I get it. The dive boxes are beautiful. They are a wonderful presentation, just like the amazing dive. If you haven't checked out my video I did just recently on this brand new Oceaniva Deep Marine 4. Awesome presentation, but that dive box, you know, I'm not really going to use it for anything, right? So you might repurpose it. I have with other ones. My case is a little different. I have so many. But I like this. It's a very different kind of shaped case. It has kind of a barrel shape, which of all the watches I've ever unboxed, I've never had one that looks like this. Got the Aura logo, basic foam insert, pretty basic. Put the watch in here sideways, which normally they have the watch facing up. So interesting they did that. Probably just to fit it in there a little easier. I get nothing negative to say about it, but love it. If you're taking a little trip somewhere, you can use this for any watch for that matter, right? Except the giant Invicta. So what else? All right, so let me get back to the watch here. Let me show you some close-ups here. And also, I will put the link in the description where I do another video of this, just straight up close and personal without this beautiful mug in the shot, right? You know, some folks don't want to see me, and I want to make sure that these watches reach the most people in this watch world of collecting, because I don't want somebody to say, you know, I can't stand Phat Kat Collections, I'm not even gonna look at the watch, right? And so it's important to give the watch kind of the glory here, but also, you know, there are folks who do like to see this dapper face, you know what I mean? All right, all joking aside. So what do you get? So you get a rose gold tone watch. You get that beautiful simulated bezel. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. You guys know I've been on kind of a ruby kick lately. Just picked up this one here. Look at that. Review coming soon from JTV. I'll save you 25 bucks on your first purchase. This complements that really well. And just so you guys know, you know, there's those people out there who are like, oh, if you have a fake cubic zirconian, you can just easily tell. You know, you really can't. You have to be somebody like a gemologist or somebody who really knows to look for it. When you compare these side by side, and this ruby I'm showing you right now is a real ruby. It's a lab-grown ruby, but it is it is chemically a real ruby. The only difference is you get lab-made rubies for a lot cheaper because they're grown in a lab. Generally, real natural rubies are more expensive, and they basically will have inclusions, which are like defects, whereas a synthetic ruby is going to be perfect, right? So when you look at this side by side, you know, to me, to my eye, the color looks exact. You know, I don't think one could say, oh, that's, you know, those aren't real rubies. I mean, you know, it gives you the look you're going for. If you're going for the ruby thing, I absolutely love rubies, so it's my favorite gemstone by far. It's awesome. I love the skeletonized face on this. I like the fact that they did on the inside, I don't know what you call that. I always want to call it like a chapter ring, but I don't know, like this bezel ring on the inside. I like that they just have right across the top in an arch aura. I mean, it's simple, clean branding, and I really like the name on this. I've said, you know, and that is very subjective, but I said in other brands like Oshniva, I love the name of the watch itself. I like the name of this watch company. I can't really tell you why, but I think it's simple. It's short and sweet. It's not like this big, long, drawn-out name. And, you know, it's just, bam, right on top of the 12 o'clock position. I think it's a great spot for it. It's very subtle, and it just looks perfect there. Love the combination in the skeletonized face. We have some, you know, those gold hands, which are still legible. A lot of times when it comes to a skeletonized face, everything starts to kind of blend together. I like that this watch is still legible. You can definitely tell the time with ease, right? And we're still giving, you know, a lot of depth to the watch where you can actually see through it. I don't know if you can see that by the video, but it does have an exhibition window on the case back. I like that they have that kind of chiseled out rotor so you can still see all that movement and that light. Although when it's on your wrist, you're not going to have any light coming through, but when you pick it up and hold it, you can see right through the watch. It's beautiful. Screw-on case back. It is not a screw-down crown, but the watch does have an automatic movement with the ability to hand wind. You have a dual push button deploy butterfly clasp, which is nice because when you close it, you have this nice seamless bracelet. Let's talk specifications on this, because this is going to be, you know, a lot of you folks, if you're in the market for a watch, if you don't have exactly all the specs you want, you're not going to buy the watch. But let's talk about those. So this one here beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour at 4 hertz with a 21 joule automatic movement. You might say, what kind of movement is that? 80-hour power reserve movement. This one here is Hangzhou Watch Company's 75D0A. It's a custom skeletonized automatic movement, bidirectional winding, so like the rotor flopping around in either direction will wind the watch. And it is, it's, again, you can wind it, or I believe you can hit wind this. Let me just double check that. It doesn't say. It appears that I'm hand winding this. Let's double check that. Yes. Pretty sure. Yeah, I'm assuming I'm hand winding this. So you might be saying, who now Hangzhou? I don't know much about Hangzhou. I know that I looked at some of the other watches that their movements come in. There's not a lot. Like when you're looking at a Seiko NH35, you can find that watch in, you know, hundreds upon thousands of different watches. Whereas this one here, when I Google Hangzhou Watch Company, you know, it's Aura pops up. So if you know more about this watch brand, I know the watch movement has been around for a long time, but whether their movements are probably in a lot of watches that don't actually put branding or advertise the watch movement. So which I think is kind of silly, but at least they put it on there, you know. So, you know, do your research on it. And I say that loosely. Remember, just gotta Google it. It's not like you're writing a paper, but, you know, it is what it is. You know, remember, movements relatively are all very similar. There's not a ton of moving parts in here. This is not like an automobile engine where, you know, there needs to be a certain level of quality with the movement. Like, even if it's crummy, it'll still work. But I don't get the vibe this is a crummy, cheap movement. So far, it's holding time relatively well. I didn't put it on a time grapher. I don't own a time grapher, but you know, none of that really matters too much to me. You do have a sapphire crystal on the front, so that it is a checkbox for many folks, but it does have a mineral crystal on the back. Not a big deal. I do think though, for this price point, you know, I don't know what these watches are going to go on sale for, but right now this could be had for $400, which you're getting into that territory where, you know, do I think a mineral crystal on the back is a big deal? No, because generally, the advantage of sapphire is that it's more scratch resistant. You're not going to scratch the back of the watch against your wrist, right? So I don't think, you know, maybe they saved a little bit of money doing that. I don't fault them for it, right? You do have 316 stainless steel. It is a 40 millimeter case diameter with 11.5 millimeters in case thickness, 26 millimeters lug to lug, and lug to lug, lug width 28 millimeters right here, and then 26 millimeters, and then of course the lug to lug 48.73. Those are kind of the specifications I could really kind of care less about. But some folks, you know, if you're super, I'd say those specifications really matter. Folks are very finicky about the size of their watch, right? To me, when I'm looking at a watch, I'm like, oh, I like it. It doesn't matter if it's 38 up to 70. I really don't care as long as I like the watch and it has generally those specifications. So the main things I look for in a watch is, number one, do I like it? You know, and this I absolutely love, right? It's a great looking piece. It's definitely my style. Again, do I always wear stuff that's iced out? No, but I love it. It's great. And I do have a lot of iced out bezel watches, a lot by Duxo. If you haven't checked out that brand, they have tons of different submariner style watches, Rolex homage watches, but you know, nothing's really kind of their at least in that skeleton, in that iced out bezel kind of realm. It's kind of, you know, you're getting a Rolex homage style, right? Whereas this, it's its own thing. I love it. I think it's a great looking piece. It has those specifications, 316 stainless steel. After, do you like it? You know, I love the way it looks. It has 316 stainless steel. You know, plating techniques, rose gold. I wouldn't worry about plating falling apart. You know, gold is extremely durable on watches, and most of the finishing techniques that most companies are using nowadays is fantastic, right? I've had watches for, you know, $100 watches that are almost 30 years old that still look great, right? So it's not too important nowadays. What else? Sapphire crystal, I could take it or leave it. If it had mineral on the front, I really wouldn't care. But I think they were wise in putting a sapphire crystal on the face when they're charging that price point, $400. Now this is probably going to go on sale. They probably have a sale in here today. I will put the link in the description. I encourage you to pick these up. They're limited to 150 units. So this is going to sell out. Now, if gold and rubies is not your thing, they have clear stone version. Let me just take a look at what else they got here. And again, I'll put the link in the description. I encourage you to check it out. They have the standard, you know, clear crystal bezel with, which is actually cheaper, $300, with, again, that skeletonized face. If you don't, I put this on while I'm talking to you guys. If you don't like the whole iced out thing, you can get it in black. You can get it in just standard stainless steel. You know, I like that they did these in the iced out version and the standard version. Although I think that the iced out bezel really kind of makes the watch. This is something I've said for years Invicta should be doing more of. A lot of brands should be doing more of it, but because it seems like they always sell out. I think there is a market for that iced out bezel. They have a lot of other watches too. If you like just a standard non-skeletonized face, they make this with a, you know, a slightly different bezel. It's starting to lean, I think, a little bit more, well, I don't know. It looks a little more Nautilus style when you don't have the iced out bezel, but I'm saying that loosely. When you look at the gentleman in the photo, the watch looks huge on his wrist. He must be an extremely small guy because it looks massive, and it's not a big watch. It's a standard watch. You can get it, I think these are Arabic numbers on here. My point is they make a lot of different color variations. They got that Tiffany style blue. They make this one in a pineapple on sale for $200. I'm gonna try to get my hands on that one. Stainless steel. It is an automatic but non-skeletonized. I think this one here is probably gonna have, let's see what kind of movement this one have, because this one, yeah, this one's using the NH35. Yeah, I assume the reason they went with this particular movement is because it is a skeletonized movement, but I like that they put the NH series movements in a lot of their other automatics, because some folks might not want kind of a movement that's not as familiar as, say, the NH series. But they make some awesome acrylic, not acrylic, what do they got? They got, where's the red? These must have been selling out, man, because I just looked the other day and they had more color variations. Let me just check something out too while I got you guys here. When you go to their site, specifically click Shop All. Yeah, there we go. So some of these are sold out. They have the iced out baby blue face, and not Tiffany blue, but like a baby blue with the blue stones. They have the pink, that's sold out. So my point being is that these crystal bezel watches have sold out, and I don't think this is going to last very long. They have the rainbow bezel. Yeah, I mean, 150, that's not a lot. So these are going to be gone. Get them while you can. If you do make a purchase, let me know your order number so I can relay that to the company and just let them know, hey, you know, this guy or girl purchased watch, you know, make sure you put the links in a little baggie. I don't know, I'll say something, but again, not a big deal, but look at this watch. It is absolutely stunning. I absolutely love the ruby bezel. And I encourage you, if you like rubies as well, or that kind of look, that red stone style watch, you know, to date, there's only a few that I've really found that give you this look. One was like a Temu watch I got, which is still fun. The whole thing is encrusted, very cheap, nothing of nice quality like this. This is where that quality is on par with like brands like Aragon, Movado, Bulova. It's just there. Like you're getting, once you have 316 stainless steel, a sapphire crystal, the rest is kind of history, right? You're getting a good quality watch. So definitely give this brand a go. I think you're going to see these, I tell you, man, $200 for the pineapple version, that's pretty incredible. Like you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. That's comparable to almost any, you know, when we look at affordable brands that give you the build quality that I've grown to, I guess, look for in a watch. You know, that's really all you need. Now I do want to state one thing. They do have one here that's more expensive. And this one, it is sold out at $850, and this one has a moissanite bezel. Moissanite, I think I'm saying that right. Which is, I guess it's like, almost I guess you could almost not tell the difference between that and diamond. So, you know, at the end of the day, when you're looking at it, you can't, you know, I don't think you really need, other than, you know, if somebody asks you, like, are those rubies? Like, I'm always going to be like, nah, these are crystals. This is synthetic ruby. I never really lie to people. So I don't, it's up to you if you want to, but nobody's going to be able to tell the difference. I don't, you know, so however you want to roll is how you want to roll, but beautiful watch. I want to thank Aura for their generosity in collaborating with Phat Kat Collections. I hope this is going to be an ongoing collaboration because I like what this brand is doing and I'm excited. I mean, a lot of times brands, like I did a video the other day about Invicta and how they haven't been coming out with much that really excites me lately. Although there is one on sale I might pick up. You know, they're just not really doing anything really unique. Like if Invicta came out with this, I'd be like, all right, finally, they've come out with something new that kind of gets me excited. And that is subjective. There's lots of people discovering different brands every day that are experiencing the excitement level that I, you know, had when I first started collecting watches. So, but it is fun when you get a brand that does bring that level of excitement back up. And I'll be honest with you, it does happen pretty often, but you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is when I look at Invicta lately, I'm not too excited. When I look at Aragon, same thing. Not much really is, you're drawing me in. But this brand, you know, I discovered them on Instagram. They popped up. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I need that watch. And I'm really glad and fortunate that they were nice enough to collaborate with Phat Kat Collections. If you guys have any questions, let me know. As always, I'll put the link in the description to the company for this specific watch. And of course, the up close and personal video, which I will film right now. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a great day. Subscribe to the channel and take care.